Okay, so we're starting with
Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about
our the good, the bad, and the ugly.
good, the bad, the ugly. Hey guys! Today we're going to be talking about closings, the good, the bad, and the ugly, all of our favorite stories.
Yeah, so what has been your most difficult transaction?
I think that the most difficult transactions that I've had have also strengthened me a lot as an agent. Just because there have been instances where I've had sellers that were very adamant about specific items, specific sales prices. They did not want to budge on a thing, and having to overcome certain obstacles along the way.
Oh, absolutely. It makes you a stronger agent overall. It gives you that much more experience to then be able to better help the next client.
Yes.
Just be, more experience overall.
Yeah. So one of my most difficult transactions, I think by far, is I had a seller, super sweet couple. Unfortunately, the husband had a super strong personality, but also had a tendency to forget that he had mentioned certain things or what he had said. And so that kind of caused a little bit of a hiccup with the transaction, as I'm trying to do my best doing what he has asked, but then he kind of forgets that he had asked me to do certain things. So the home was overpriced, and I told him at the beginning that I knew that it was going to be overpriced, but I had a strategy in place in order to sell it. They wanted to list it at the price they wanted to, and we were supposed to do a price reduction after that. They decided after listing with me that they did not want to do that, and we had multiple offers coming in at the sales price that I had suggested, but they still didn't want to take them, even though that's what the market was directing them into. So I worked my butt off. I found somebody finally who was willing to pay closer to what they wanted, and we were able to get it done, and at the end of the day, everybody was happy. How about you?
So my most difficult transaction was on the selling side. My client had the home rented out for 2 years before we went on the market, and then we go on the market, we go live, we find out that it has foundation issues. The reason we didn't catch this beforehand was because there was just no signs of it, and obviously when you don't have signs immediately,
and you're not living in the property, you don't know.
You just don't know what's going on. So we find out it has foundation issues. She doesn't want to take it off the market. She's stressed out because when you fix a foundation, you also get other cosmetic issues that come with it. The home shifts, so you're going to get cracking in the walls, you're going to get doors that aren't going to close anymore. The foundation company also had to break tile and other flooring in the interior. So now you're having to deal not only with the foundation, but you also have to get tape and bed in there to fix the walls. You got to get a painter in there to make sure that they at least look, that everything looks even.
There's a lot that comes with it.
And then you have to get the flooring fixed. So there was a lot. And I called you. And I literally broke down on the phone that morning because it was just a lot. And I think that the reason why that happened was because we tend to carry our clients' emotions with us throughout the transaction and thereafter. We are the middleman. We are their soundboard. They bounce their emotions off of us, or they reflect their emotions off of us. And so we tend to carry that, and that I tend to carry a lot of those emotions with me very heavily, especially when I can tell that my client is stressed because she's having to deal with contractors, and then she's having to deal with buyers that are weary of buying a home that's going through the process of being repaired, whereas typically you do these repairs beforehand. So it was just a lot, but we made it to the closing table. She was ecstatic that we got this done. The buyers were so happy because they got an amazing deal. They were able to see past everything and envision the home fully repaired, and once it was done, it was beautiful. I mean, it was just it was a very difficult project for all of us, but at closing, it felt really good.
That's great.
So, what has been your most fun transaction?
My most fun transaction, I got to help a couple of really good friends buy a home, and they honestly weren't sure that they were going to be able to buy a home, especially in the market we're in right now, where it's such a seller's market they were using a VA loan and, only had X amount of money to put down. But it was just a really fun process throughout. They understood that it was going to be difficult, and it was. Trust me. We put in a ton of offers for them. But it was just nice to get to help a friend, go through that process, especially when they've never been through the process. They are trusting in you. You get to help them not only buy a home, but buy a home that they love and get a good deal for it and celebrate with them afterwards. I mean, that's the best thing that can happen.
Yeah, and the fact that you're celebrating with friends
Yes.
makes it that much funner. Absolutely. I think my most fun transaction overall was working with a first-time investor. It was a first-time investor. I worked with first-time buyers, but it was a first-time investor. We saw some interesting properties, if that's the right word for it. We saw everything.
Did you see everything? Because I've walked in the sewer, so.
I haven't. We didn't walk into a sewer, but there were rats. And
oh no, thanks.
That was one of them. It was a lot, but it was fun because I also learned a lot. Right. I helped him not only run comps. We ran rental comps to see what the area was for. We ran cap rates, and I ran all these numbers as an investor you need to know to make sure whether the deal works or not. And because he was going through the learning phase, I was familiar with the process, but I had never guided someone through it.
Yeah.
To the best of my ability. I know there's a lot more to learn. There's always a lot more to learn when it comes to investing. But the properties that we went through, the doors that we had to, you find them, literally almost had to knock down a door because the agent said, get in however you can. And I'm like, okay. So, we have their permission. So if that's what it takes. But it was just, they were engaged.
I see.
So a couple. They were a very sweet couple. They've since moved out of Dallas, but they were just a really, really fun couple to work with.
That's good.
So
Sounds fun.
Yeah. What has been your most favorite transaction?
Oh, my favorite transaction. I love these people. So I got a sign call off of a listing when I had first started real estate. And they weren't ready right then. But a year later, they followed up with me. I followed up with them. Still not necessarily ready. But they're working on it. They're getting there. And finally, about 2 years after, they're ready to start looking. And we start looking. And it's not really a competitive market per se. It is a little bit of a seller's market, but it wasn't like what we're seeing here in 2021. It was 2019, still a seller's market, but not as bad. And their price point was still it was under 200, which was a little bit difficult at the time. We kind of looked all over, and finally we found a home. We got under contract. And then we found a lot of issues with that home. So we didn't take that house, but the next home, which was actually the home they really wanted, it was just under contract when
you initially...
they picked a different offer. Mm-hmm. So they were really bummed out about that. We went under contract on another home. Luckily, there were issues they fell through, and they were able to scoop up the next home. Man, they love that house. They've done a great job with that home. I still talk to them today, and they were able to get so much equity out of the home that I'm just really happy that I could help them because they deserved it, and they're a super sweet family.
Yeah. And did they send you before and after pictures? Because I love seeing
those. Yes.
I love seeing those pictures.
Oh my gosh, that's my favorite. When I get clients that have bought a home and they send me pictures afterwards of the updates that they're doing, I love that.
Yes. I think my favorite transaction was with I helped one of my best friends. Mm-hmm. That's part of the reason, but not the entire reason why. Was because they're a family of 4, so they needed a lot of space.
Right.
Their price point was also, in the seller's market. We were just now getting into the seller's market, and it was going to be difficult. We knew that up front. But more than anything was that we looked at a lot of homes, and I could tell that she would kind of say yes to some, but I knew, like, when you see someone, you can tell they're not 100% convinced. I always say that as soon as a client opens the door, I can tell whether they like the home or not. Yeah. So she would say, yeah, I like it, and try, you know, and maybe she did like it, but I could tell that just wasn't where her heart was at. So we find this property that had multiple offers.
Okay.
And they were, and we needed to move quick because when we came, this property had already been under contract also.
Okay.
They terminated, so they were already weary of going with another buyer that wasn't going to be able to close. I was going back and forth with this agent on, look, what do we need to do? Obviously, she can't disclose a lot of information.
Right.
But I'm just doing my best to make sure that we do get this one under contract. Luckily, we beat out the other offers and got it under contract. And then it also has issues. And the seller didn't want to
do any
repairs. So my client was like, I'll do the repairs. And long story short, it was a very difficult process. I mean, the morning of closing, if we hadn't closed that day, I think the seller was going to terminate and probably move on to another offer. That's how under pressure we were. Yeah. But we got it. They're in love with the home. I mean, I helped my best friend get her family into a home.
That's great.
It was difficult, but we got it done. And I think overall, that had to have been one of my, that thus far has been my favorite transaction.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So,
yeah. Yep. So there you have it. There are some of our favorite stories of the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. And comment below if you learned anything, if you want us to talk about a certain topic, or if you just want to provide some feedback. We'd love to chat with you about any questions you may have.
We'll see you next time. I don't like that.